Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly. Now, we've been talking about a lot of things that you can do in Vegas, a lot of things maybe you shouldn't do in Las Vegas. And today we're going to start a series. We're going to talk about sort of specialized trips to Las Vegas. And you'll kind of get an idea what I'm talking about as we get into today's show. But probably the most special thing you can do in Las Vegas is get married. So we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the ins and outs of that, some things maybe to watch out for, what you need to do if you're planning a wedding in Las Vegas, or even if you think you might be planning a wedding in Las Vegas. And in this case, I'm drawing on my own actual experience this past summer, as well as some advice from some friends, including the one and only Keno Kid. Appreciate his feedback. As well as the opportunity to check out he and Candy's wedding earlier this year. Now, before we get started, I mentioned in our live stream on Wednesday, and I do want to appreciate those of you who tuned in. We had a lot of competition that night with a number of folks doing premieres and lives, so I appreciate those of you who dropped in. Congratulations to Lisa and Drew and Denise on winning our big giveaway prizes. So, yeah, you don't want to miss out on the next live stream. It could be a big winner for you. Now, I did mention that over the next few weeks I'm going to be moving, and yeah, this studio behind us is going to go away, at least in its current form. This is probably going to be the very last Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly we're going to do here in this studio, and we are not going to do a show next Friday. In fact, we're going to take the week off starting next Friday, that'd be the 4th, I guess. We will not do a Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly for Saturday, and we will not be doing a short show on Tuesday and Thursday. So we'll have an entire week off so that we can get ourselves moved into our new digs, get the studio set up so you can check out what's going on there. So apologize for those of you whose lives revolve around seeing me. I'm already sorry for you. But we'll be back after that in a brand new studio setting and continuing to bring you lots of Vegas tips and tricks, including the ones we're going to talk about today, which, as I said, is about getting married in Las Vegas. Now, traditionally, people have gone to Las Vegas to get married for nearly 100 years. During the mid-20th century, Nevada had almost notoriously easy wedding and divorce laws. So many folks that wanted that quickie wedding or quickie divorce would make the quick trip or the longer trip to Las Vegas because some of the more liberal laws. Now, in particular, Las Vegas has not had a waiting period. In many states, when you get a wedding license, you have to wait, say, 48 or 72 hours to actually get the ceremony performed. In Las Vegas, you can get your marriage certificate and get married 30 minutes later. There's no waiting period. Also, during the mid-20th century, a lot of states had a number of other sort of difficult requirements, including like a blood test. I really don't know what that was all about. There are very few states that still have that, but Las Vegas did not have that either. And of course, the result of all of these liberal wedding laws, an entire industry grew up in the city of Las Vegas to marry people, and that industry continues to exist. If you've ever been in Las Vegas, driven up and down some of the perhaps seedier sections of the Strip and downtown, you've noticed a proliferation of wedding chapels. And almost everyone probably knows someone who's gotten married in Las Vegas. And a marriage in Las Vegas can take many, many forms, from a very, very simple private ceremony to a big-time event. Nowadays, a lot of people may choose Las Vegas as a kind of destination wedding, and certainly not the only place that you could have a destination wedding. I know I had a cousin who got married in Florida this year. I've heard of people getting married in Mexico or Jamaica. There's a lot of great locations where you can get married. One good thing about Las Vegas, though, one thing we talk about on the show very frequently, is Las Vegas is a fairly inexpensive place. So if you're expecting family and friends from around the country or around the world to gather, Las Vegas is a place where they can normally get pretty reasonably priced accommodations and be able to attend. So now you know some of the reasons why people may choose to get married in Las Vegas, but what are the nuts and bolts of actually doing the deed? Well, first of all, of course, you'll need a wedding license. And to do that, you'll need to go to the Marriage License Bureau. It's in kind of a pretty good-sized building in the downtown area. It's on Clark Street, just a few blocks south of the Fremont Street Experience. Once you get there, you'll know you're there. But in advance, before you even get to Las Vegas, you can go on the Marriage License Bureau's website and submit all the information, the application that you'll need in order to get the wedding license. Now, if you do that in advance, it's going to be a lot easier. Once you go into the License Bureau, there are a couple of terminals where you can enter that information, but you may not be prepared to answer all the questions. You will have to answer some fairly detailed questions about your family history, like where your mother and father were born, when, that sort of thing. And so it's a good idea to check that out. If you have your birth certificate with you, that's going to be a great reference in order to fill out the application in advance. Once you get to the License Bureau, it's no longer open 24 hours a day. I think it probably opens about 7 or 8 and stays open till around midnight. I guess they decided that drunk people at 3 a.m. were not necessarily making the best choices. But once you get there, you'll simply form a queue. When we arrived on July the 11th, basically we walked in and, again, it's a fairly small space. We were kind of at the back of the line. And I think it probably took us 45 minutes to get through the line. It was around the lunch hour, so I think there may have been some of the clerks who were, going to lunch or coming back. But it didn't take too long. Once you get to the front, you can give them your information. They can pull up your application online. They'll review it with you, make sure that everything is correct. You will need a state ID or some sort of legitimate ID, passport, that sort of thing. And you will have to basically swear that the information that you're giving is accurate. And of course, you'll need cash. I think the current going rate was $102, but that could change depending upon when you're watching this video. You get that together, everything checks out okay. They'll print out the information. They will, basically they'll give you this sort of souvenir wedding license or wedding certificate. And the paperwork that you need to take to the officiant, the person that's going to perform the ceremony. And that's where we get into the next part, and that is getting the ceremony performed. Now, you may think to yourself, well, you know what, I'll just go to Las Vegas, I'll get the wedding license, I'll have my Uncle Bill get one of those like fake minister things online and he can marry us. Well, it's not quite that simple in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, probably because weddings are a big business there, does require all the officiants to be licensed in some way. Now, it is possible for a minister from out of state to get licensed, but they're going to need to know in advance, and they're going to go through some steps in order to make that happen. The simplest thing, of course, is just to hire a minister somewhere in Las Vegas. You could probably find one on Craigslist, or you could simply take advantage of the many, many, many wedding chapels all around the city. Now, they, range from very simple, basic places to extremely elaborate places. And it kind of depends upon your budget. It also kind of depends upon the number of people that are going to be there. Now, in the spring, when I went to the Keno's wedding, they had a fairly large chapel. I think the capacity there was like 88 people. And that's an important thing to know, the number of people that are going to attend, because in addition to the size of the space, one of the things that's going to determine the cost of your wedding, wherever you go, is the number of people attending. So what's it all going to cost? Well, I can tell you from experience, you can get a very basic ceremony for probably around $100 or so. You may have to shop around, you may have to check out, there may be specials, you may have to get married at certain times of the day. That may exclude certain popular dates. And that brings up another point. If you're planning to get married on, say, I don't know, the 1st of January or Valentine's Day or something, you may want to try to plan that well in advance, because guess what? You're not the first person to think about that. As far as the maximum, it's pretty much the sky's the limit, and pretty much any venue is possible in any situation. Of course, you could get married by Elvis, you could get married in a drive-through ceremony, you could get married in the Grand Canyon in a helicopter flying over Las Vegas, you could probably get married while you're firing machine guns out of a helicopter. But again, all of those things are going to add to the cost. Now, also keep in mind that most any place that you get married, you're also going to be expected to provide a gratuity to the minister in at least in the $50 to $100 range. At the $100 range, they're going to be very happy and friendly in general, unless this is a really elaborate ceremony. Now, in most cases, you can write your own vows or at least basically contribute something. They will ask you what kind of ceremony you want, whether you want a rather traditional ceremony, one with religious overtones, or one that's very secular, so you can make that decision as well. You can add all kinds of extras to the ceremony, whether it be pictures, video, flowers, so keep that in mind, and each one of those things, just like any add-on you find anywhere, will add to the cost. So you can get by probably for $250, $300 for a very simple elopement ceremony, or you could spend tens of thousands of dollars if you want something very elaborate or very unique. Keep in mind that you can get your marriage license well in advance. In fact, I think it's good for an entire calendar year. So, if you're going to get married in the spring and you're there in the fall, you can go ahead and get the license in advance, and it's good for an entire year. Now, a lot of people kind of misunderstand the whole wedding process. There really doesn't have to be a ceremony at all. You just have to have someone that's a licensed officiant, someone that can sign off on your certificate, and someone that can sign off as a witness, and that's basically it. And then they're responsible for returning the marriage license to the Marriage License Bureau in this case. And in most cases, you're going to probably want to send away for a copy, an official sort of licensed copy of your marriage certificates, particularly if there's a name change involved, and they'll give you the information on that. That'll cost you probably anywhere from $35 and up, depending on how many copies of that you want and or need. Okay, so as far as any specific Vegas tips and tricks on this, I can only speak to the two wedding venues that I've had a chance to visit over the past year. And the first one was the Chapel of the Flowers, which is a really nice, somewhat newer facility. I think it's around 17th and Las Vegas Boulevard, just a few blocks north of the Strat. That was where the Kenos got married. There's a number of chapels there. There's a really nice outdoor space where you can take pictures, a good waiting area. It's a really nice spot, particularly if you have a fairly large group of people attending. So definitely could recommend that. And then where I got married in July was at the Little White Wedding Chapel, which has been there forever, basically. I mean, people like Paul Newman got married there way back in the day, and after a few days after we got married, so did Ben Affleck and J-Lo. A little bit older facility, but really nice. They have the option to do the little drive-through wedding with Elvis. We got married in, I think, the really old chapel, and it really was kind of charming and cool. So those are a couple of options, but again, there are dozens more. Another thing to remember about the people that you're going to deal with when you get married in Las Vegas is these people are professionals. They know what they're doing. If they tell you they can do something, they can. It's really easy to stress over a major event in your life like this, but you're probably in better hands at most of these chapels than you would be anywhere else in America. So once they tell you that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, you're probably pretty safe. Also, the ceremony itself is going to be relatively small. I mean, you're not going to have 500 people attending a wedding in Las Vegas. Most people probably just a dozen or two. So don't spend a lot of money on the ceremony. Spend a little more money on the celebration afterward, the reception. See if you can find a nice facility to welcome your friends and family who may want to congratulate you on your special day. So did any of you get married in Las Vegas, outside of the people I already mentioned? Do you have any tips or tricks about getting married in Las Vegas? Do you recommend it? Was it not the best experience? I'd like to know your feelings on that or anything about Las Vegas, so you're always welcome to leave that in the comments below. Now, we will not be back next week with another episode of Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly, but we will in a couple of weeks, and we hope that you'll join us again. If you have not hit that subscribe button, I hope that you'll do so. It helps us out a lot, and we appreciate you joining us on a regular basis here on Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly. Hope you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye-bye, and congratulations.